Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. So glad you're here. If you're new, be sure to hit that subscribe button or give us a thumbs up or a comment. Today we are doing a second video on how to make face mask. This one is a little bit different than our first pattern. So what I have done is people are asking how to make a pocket in the back. So that's what we're going to work on today. If you've already watched our first video with the pleats and everything, what I decided to do is, because I had so many orders for people that were wanting these, and then I kept seeing requests for pockets, I started thinking about this and why I didn't think about this from the get-go. This, how I'm making this is exactly how I made hair bows and bow ties, and I'll show you in the process at what point I would change that. But the other thing is I have so many to make, I'm trying to figure out how to speed up the process without really changing too much. So to do that, we're going to, instead of putting a little tab of fabric here, we're going to do it just a little bit different. So if you've watched the first video, we're going to be using the same fabric and everything. So we are going to cut a piece of material that is 8 by 14. So I'm going to move my little mini ironing board here for a second. So I'm just going to start with 1/4 of a yard of fabric. And if you use 1/4 of a yard of fabric, you can get 3 masks from 1/4 of a yard. So I'm going to take this. Now I'm using a quilting ruler. And what is great about a quilting ruler is they're thick, see how thick that is, and then your rotary cutter can run right next to it. And then I've got mine buried under some fabric here. So if you don't have a rotary cutter, just get your ruler, and you can use a little piece of chalk. You can chalk mark that, and then cut it, and we're just going to cut off this extra. Now if you already have a yard of material or whatnot, go ahead and just cut the 8 inches, but every time I do this, I don't press hard enough. There's always a little thread that didn't cut. Okay, you can save this for a scrap for the other method. All right, side. Okay, so now I'm going to open this up. I want to trim off this part because I don't want to get that in my design. We're not going to need that. So cut off your salvage edge. Throw that away. And then I'm going to measure, I'm flipping this over, so this is the folded edge. And on my cutting mat here, I'm going to mark 14 inches. So we have 2 right here, and then this piece will open up, if I can get a hold of it, and here is our 3rd piece. Okay, so 3 pieces for a mask. Okay, the next thing we're going to want to do is you're going to want to iron. Let me get one piece here. Okay, so this is my little cute mini ironing board. I bought this at a local craft store. It's just a little wooden thing, but as you can see on the bottom, it's got little legs, and then it's got a little piece of batting and covered in material and stapled on there, so it's super handy. And then I have this cute little mini iron. So this is great for quilting, like if you have to press open little seams and things. I'm just going to press that where that crease was. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my material up. I'm totally eyeballing this, you know, a little more than halfway. Okay, and then I'm going to take this edge, this raw edge, and I'm going to fold this back, again, eyeballing about 1 inch. If you want to do a little finger press. Okay, so press that. And then I'm going to take this top piece and fold it down, and just so it meets those raw edges. Okay, so that's on top. The folded piece has to be on the bottom. Okay, so I want to get a good crease right here. Okay, so now if you open this up, you can see where your fold line is. Okay, and then you want to take your 1/4 inch elastic, which is this little skinny stuff right here. All right. So we've got 1/4 inch elastic. Now in the first video, I used 6.5 inches. I have decided to start making it a little bit longer to be a little bit more universal. So the ones that I'm making, I'm just making them. I'm not doing sizes. I know there are, you know, like if somebody asks for a child size, I'll definitely cut it down. But for adult sizes, I started doing the elastic a little bit longer. So if you so a 6.5 is good probably for, let's say somebody that might, women, teenagers and women might be a small. So if you feel like an XL might be more like 8.5 inches. So I've kind of been going with 7.5. So I feel like that's more universal to fit more people, okay? So I've got 7.5 inches of 1/4 inch elastic, and what I'm doing is I'm taking this over to the sewing machine. I'm not even pinning this. I'm just gonna pin this for you guys. But my whole purpose in this is to do it faster. So I'm not pinning. This is strictly for the video. Okay, so right close to where I've ironed that crease, maybe a 1/2 inch down, I'm going to sew my elastic. I'm just going to stitch, and I'm going to go forward and go back and secure that really good. And just so I can do this all at one time, I'm going to pin this on here. So when I'm sewing, I don't like to do a whole lot of pinning because I don't like anything that slows me down. And making these masks, I'm just trying to speed up the process. Okay, so we're gonna leave this open. We're just going to sew over these elastic pieces right here. Oops. Take this over to the machine. But make sure you backstitch. This is the important part. You want to make sure that you are getting that elastic stitched in there nice and secure. We're going to sew over it again, but I just think that's the real important part. We don't want that to come undone. Just do a reverse. And I'm going to stitch the other side. Okay, so I've now got the elastics sewn on each point, and then I'm going to fold this back up. Again, this part with the flap right here needs to be on the bottom, okay? Get that flat, and then take this top part and fold it over, and it will cover, meets right there. So now what we're going to do is we are going to sew right down the sides, and as you go over the elastic, do a quick little back stitch, but keep going. Again, just securing that in place. So by doing that back stitch on the elastic, and then as you fold it, you've now stitched it at least 4 times. And I'm gonna since this is a little bit darker of a material, you can see the stitching right there. Okay, I also want to show you. Okay, we just sewed this, so there's the opening. So this is how we're going to, there's my dog, sorry. So we have this. Okay, so see, I've turned it, and I'm gonna take my scissors. You can use a little point turner, whatever, just be careful. Poke these corners out good. And this is very similar to if you're like doing a pillow or something, okay? Now, I mentioned that I make my hair bow. When I was a kid, I made hair bows that you slide a little barrette through, and then I also make my bow ties exactly this way. And I want to show you what I'm talking about quickly. Now, I don't make them 14 inches long, so I cut that down to 10, and I'll do another video on that. This is the exact same process. So then you make the little band for this. So, okay. So I just want to point that out to you. This came to me, I'm like, I've been doing this for years, just making something else. So I'm gonna iron this real good. Okay, so before we had put this together and put the elastic on top. So now our elastic is in here. So what I'm doing now is creating a pleat, one at the top, one going up and one going down. So you put the pleats in it just so it can expand over the nose or however, you know. This part will kind of, okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch. Now I did this a couple times, and if you stitch real close to this, it's very thick because you have the selvages on the inside, which is, you know, 2 layers, and you have 2 layers on the outside. Then you have this folded, so it gets real bulky if you get really close to the edge. So I just come in, you know, a little bit. Let me see if I can tell you exactly. Lay this on here. Maybe 3/8. Okay, so I'm going to take this to the machine and make sure you back stitch really good where the fold starts, because you just don't want that to pop open. But it's a little bit easier if you sew it a little bit in versus right on that edge, because it's not so bulky. Cut these. Okay, so can y'all see that really good? See what I did? All right. Now, so this is done, but how this is different also is here on the back side is that opening, okay? So they're asking, you know, for a little opening to put a filter, and I'm not sure what exactly that is. I've heard many different things, so you need to ask a medical professional what that filter is. I've heard maybe you just put a Kleenex in there that can come out. You cut down a coffee filter. I've heard somebody said lay a Clorox wipe out and let it dry, and then you cut that down and slip that in there. So I honestly do not know what goes in the pocket, so that's a whole nother research project. But I feel like I really like this pattern because it stitches up faster. And right now with the amount that we need to sew, faster is key for me. And this works just as well. And you've got your pleats, so it does expand over the face. So it works just as well. So if you are going to do a child size, I would probably cut this down. So let's review real quick. So we have a piece of material that we cut 8 by 14. So 8 by 14, and then folded it up and then did like a little 1-inch flap to the back. And then our elastic, I bumped up. We're now using 7.5 inches. So if you're using a child size, I'd probably get it down to probably 5.5 for a child, a small child, maybe 6. So 7.5 seems to be a little bit more universal for adult sizing. Just, you know, if you really want it, if you needed an extra large size, you might want to go 8.5. And then we turned it, and then just we did a pleat up and a pleat back, and pressed it, and then sewed down our side seams. So if you have any questions, please put it in the comments. But I hope you've enjoyed both videos that we have on making face masks. And I'll put links in the description where you can find me on social media, to my website, and our actual storefront, which is in Louisville, Kentucky. So happy sewing, and let's all get going on making our face mask.